My name's Dave DeBow, founder of MoneyPartnerFormula.com, and this show is built for everyday real estate investors who are actively doing deals and looking to scale using other people's money. So if you're an active real estate investor and you want to get featured on this show to talk about your own real estate and capital raising experiences, then just go to daveinterviewsyou.com. Now let's get rolling with this episode, and remember to subscribe for daily interview content. Welcome back, folks. Today, zooming in from Detroit, we have a very accomplished and experienced real estate entrepreneur who has made the big leap from doing single family homes at scale. We'll talk a little bit about that, into the multifamily space, doing syndications at scale as well. Gideon Pfeffer is very, very experienced in both single families and most recently, and definitely big time in the syndication space. So Gideon, welcome to the show. Great to have you.
Yeah, Dave, it's great to be here. Thank you so much.
So to start off with, can you maybe explain to myself and the audience, what does your real estate investing business look like today as of end of September 2024? What do you guys
Yeah,
do?
sure. Yeah. So I have a an operating company. We're a syndicator, owner, operator, sponsor of mainly multifamily apartment communities.
Mm-hmm.
We've got a portfolio of a little bit under 6,000 apartment units
Nice.
that encompasses six different states.
Mm.
Um, we uh, we do not self-manage, but we do have a sister construction company, and that allows us to be vertically integrated into our day-to-day business. Um, and probably playing a little bit more defense over the last 12 to 18 months than
Mm.
offense, but kind of excited for the next chapter and in this market cycle.
Yeah, I was just at a conference last weekend, and a lot of the multifamily guys are, you know, thinking we've weathered this storm. We're well positioned because it looks like there are a lot of opportunities coming down the pipeline with changes in interest rates and things like that, and renewals coming up and that sort of thing. So yeah, it could be lots of opportunity, that's for sure. So Gideon, I was looking over your information that you sent in ahead of time. Very, very interesting, your journey. And we don't spend a lot of time on the journey, but I'm very curious. You went from, if I'm not mistaken, doing a ton of, would they be flips? Because the language that was used in there, but basically you're acquiring and renovating and selling property. So were you doing flips, single family home flips
Yeah,
back in the
it
day?
was a flips, but they were flips, but not like the flip this house flip like you see on TV,
Yeah.
where the difference would be that we would buy a house, fix it up, but then we put a renter in the
Oh,
house,
okay.
and
Yeah.
we'd flip it and sell it to an investor as a
As a
cash flow
turnkey.
asset. Exactly, turnkey.
Okay. Very, very cool. But you did that like not onesie twosies. You did that at scale, correct?
Yeah, I mean at peak we were doing probably 20 a month as our normal day-to-day business while aggregating large packages of homes for larger institutional capital at the same time.
Were most of those properties in and around Detroit or different states?
So the stuff that we were churning out regularly on a monthly basis was in Michigan, and
Mhm.
then stuff that the property packages that we were aggregating to institutional capital was out of state typically. Michigan just wasn't a target for them,
Mhm.
um, for those buyers. It was typically in the Carolinas, down in the Southeast, Georgia, Florida, Texas, those little
Got
type
it.
of locations.
Well, you're very, very successful at that business, but you decided to switch over into apartment buildings, multifamily, and syndications. What sparked that change for you? And
You
looking
know,
back on it, what are your thoughts at this time?
it's a valid question. Why would you leave a lucrative business, the single family business, and move on? And I think it had to do with production. It was a production style business and it was a trader business, which meant that I was paying ordinary income. The cash was great, and I had to start over at square one every year, kind of
Mhm.
like a salesman almost,
Right.
like there's no residual there. And so my wife and I had just finished up a really large joint venture where with another group where we had done about 700 houses, and this was 2016. We took a little bit of a break. We traveled a bit and visioned, put some intentionality behind, where do we want to be, over the next 10 years, and how do we take what we learned over the last decade in
Yeah.
single family aggregation all the lessons learned, and mistakes made and triumphs had and all that, and package it into our next evolution of what we're doing. And we decided to move into multifamily. For a lot of different reasons. But the main one had to do with the fact that we could earn a little money up front, we could
Mhm.
earn passive income along the way, we could have capital gains and appreciation growth and when we sold a property, and then also we could benefit from the tax advantages that real estate has to offer that we really weren't benefiting from, right? Like we weren't having doing accelerated depreciation. We weren't benefiting from long-term capital gains because we don't these single family houses for less than a year. And so we
Mhm.
decided to what we felt was evolve to the next level of real estate.
Very, very cool. No, that makes a ton of sense. Now, what were the skills that you brought from the previous business that really applied well to the new business of syndications and multifamily?
I think that you use the word scale a couple times. Single family at scale, multifamily at scale. Um, Not being afraid to tackle large projects, programs, or numbers.
Mm.
Um, Realizing that uh, it's just another zero or another comma.
Yeah,
It's the same conversation, and it's often a similar effort. But when numbers become of tens and hundreds of millions, people get overwhelmed and feel like they're out of their reach.
yeah.
Um, so I kind of learned that along the way in single family as we grew that, and I brought that over to the multifamily, how to create scale. But look, I mean, looking at a property, understanding what curb appeal is, what would be interesting to not only a resident who's going to live there, but also an investor who might invest, right?
Mhm.
Um, Understanding location, understanding property condition, understanding how to elevate a property, take a property that is in one state and turning it into a better state, right? And creating value there. And then look, I mean, we did multifamily. It was just scattered site multifamily, right?
It was all over the. Yeah, you're doing tons of properties at the same time. They're just different locations.
Yeah, so I thought that, moving into multifamily might actually be a little bit easier, because you were dealing with less roofs and less HVAC and less,
Yeah.
headache. I learned that, growing multifamily has its own set of opportunities for
Yeah,
growth,
I
right?
think everything's got headaches. It's
Yeah,
just you got to pick which ones you want. Yeah.
that's right. But residential real estate is very similar, you know, and so I had a lot to learn on multifamily,
Hmm.
um, but there were a lot of challenges encountered in single family, a lot of mistakes that we made, that you learn from, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that one of the biggest things that I brought from single family to multifamily was some humility,
Mhm.
and being okay not knowing everything. I learned that through my single family days because that's not how I started. That
Uh,
was not my MO. And so going into multifamily with willingness to learn and ask questions and not pretend like I know everything, I think was a real important skill that I brought.
that's the trouble sometimes when you see some success as a young buck, it tends to go to our heads a bit.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and then you have some hard learning lessons. But that's really interesting, Gideon. So looking back on the transition, what was that first multifamily property that you guys bought that got you into the space?
So it was a 64 unit apartment complex called Holiday Garden in Mount Clemens, Michigan.
Mhm.
And so my company is called GSH, the GSH Group, and the GSH Group didn't even exist then. Like I partnered up with two other individuals and I said to them, hey, I want to go buy a 10,000 apartment units, and they said that sounds great. Why don't we buy one deal and see how it goes? You know? And so we bought the 64 unit. Uh, I'm the G in GSH for Gideon, and then I have my partner Hanan and my partner Shmulik, and that's the GSH. And one guy's a high net worth, balance sheet partner,
Okay.
and another one was had a following of investors, and so I was the guy to find the deals and to run the deals, and we came together really nicely. We transacted well together. The transaction was a success. We closed. Um, we started operating well, and we moved on to the next one. And
Cool.
so we incorporated or created the GSH umbrella for our second deal, and we're off to the races.
So have things changed at all as far as roles and responsibilities between you and your partners over the last 5 or 6 years?
Yeah, I mean, I've got two great partners as well as an exceptional partner in my wife, and my wife has become much more involved operationally in the company. Um, my two partners, like they're both 20 years older than me. They're in different places in their lives. They are 100% supportive and always available to me when I ask for assistance.
Yeah.
Um, they're also very respectful in letting me be the managing partner and the CEO and run the company. Um, I think that it's natural for roles and duties to evolve, in any relationship or partnership. So I would say like the answer is yes, but depends on the day and the circumstance.
One thing I was noticing is that you guys do very, very well is raising capital for your projects. Are you involved in that side of the business nowadays as well, or is that more your partner's side of things?
So originally my partner, I had one partner who had a following of investors out of Israel, actually.
Mm.
And I would say, and the deal was that he would bring the investors, we started growing our investor base in the U.S. and that really ballooned. So I was
Mhm.
I was I was 100% involved in raising, where originally it was 100% out of Israel, then it became 80% out of Israel, and fast forward to 2021, it was like 20% out of Israel, right?
Mhm.
So um, we as we grew and grew track record and grew notoriety, um, organically, we developed a very large and happy investor base.
Very, very good. Any lessons learned over the challenging times we've been going through over the last few years, with projects, with communications with investors? Any big lessons that you've learned?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, we could have a two podcast lengths
Yeah,
worth
I'm
of
sure.
lessons that I've learned over the last couple of years. Um, High level, we we were very active in the later stage of the cycle. We bought quite a few properties in 2021 and a few in 2022.
Mhm.
Um, and I think I'm probably going to be more aware um, of signs, market signs that the market might be a bit frothy. That there was equity was so prevalent and so cheap that could have been a sign. There were certain periods of time when deals didn't make sense because they were so expensive that you couldn't make a deal work if you were getting into a fixed rate mortgage and you had
Mhm.
to do bridge. I think that was probably a sign,
Yeah.
that maybe it was time to slow down, pump the brakes a bit on acquisitions, maybe even do, exit some of our own properties because the market was so high and prices were so high.
Mhm.
And so I think my biggest lesson learned is, I was so focused on growing a large portfolio that maybe I ignored some of those signs. And so um, being less consumed by the end goal and being a little bit more aware of what's going on around, being a little more curious around what's going on, and um, uh, might have made some different decisions.
Yeah. Well, it's like you're mentioning in your initial learning experiences from the single family home, that you had a lot of success, you had some learning experiences along the way. It's the same thing with anything, right? So as long
Yeah.
as, like you mentioned, that you can move forward with humility, understanding that nobody has all the answers at the crystal ball and everybody's going to make mistakes from time to time, but the most important thing is to learn from it and try to avoid similar situations in the future. That's the best that we can do. And sounds like you
Yeah.
guys have done a very, very good job of weathering this storm. You've got a massive portfolio, and maybe you haven't, the maybe you're realizing that the 10,000 unit goal isn't the end all be all. It's the quality of the units that you've got and moving ahead. So again, that all comes with experience and maturity, I would imagine.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself.
Wonderful. So Gideon, as we're kind of wrapping up our conversation here, you guys have weathered the storm. You're well positioned. Where do you see yourself and your company going over the next 12 to 24 months?
So, we're keeping an eye out, an ear open for opportunities. What does an opportunity look like, right? I think a brand new apartment complex or something newly built, that we can acquire for less than replacement cost in a good market, I think is a great opportunity today while we're still, um, while the market is shifting and interest rates are only just beginning to come down, right? So
Yeah.
we're going to see organic cap rate compression when as interest rates come down. And so really anything that you buy that you create value at, you're going to have some tailwinds, to help you along the way. And then turning over a lot of stones to try and help out other sponsors maybe that are in some distress,
Mhm.
to maybe take their position over, buy their loan out from their lender, or just take advantage of some receivership or foreclosure positions. That's kind of what our 12 to 18-month outlook looks like,
Yep.
while continuing to fortify our own portfolio.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Gideon, if people are listening or watching this and they say, "Hey, I'd like to connect with that young guy. He seems pretty smart. Looks like he knows what he's doing. He's learned some good lessons." What's the best way for people to connect with you?
Yeah, you can check out our website or you can go to investwithgideon.com, which will take you to my website, our portfolio, also give you a little bit of background about myself if you wanted to connect to me.
Wonderful. Well, thank you very much for sharing your experiences. This has been great.
Yeah, it's been my pleasure. Thanks, Dave.
All right, everybody, take care, and we will see you on the next episode. Hey there, I really hope you enjoyed that episode. And as always, if you want to listen to more daily interview content, make sure you subscribe. And if you're an active real estate investor and you're doing deals and you'd like to get featured on this show, then just head over to daveinterviewyou.com. Now, at moneypartnerformula.com, we help real estate investors to create a process for predictably getting capital so they can do more deals without relying on hard money lenders or the banks. We do this by building them a private capital marketing system. Now, if you want help turning yourself into a big money capital attraction machine, then book a call with our team to see how we can help. Just visit moneypartnerformula.com to find out more. All right, take care, and we'll see you on the next interview.